Huzzah and well met to you, people managers and monster hunters, or maybe farmers, but that's another story for another time. And I want to apologize first because viewer Demarkian mentioned that when I posted this video yesterday, the sound was no good. I was apparently trying to make a silent tutorial, which isn't going to work very well. And another shout out has to go to longtime viewer and full-time Redstone genius, um, Dorsal Dawn, for pointing out that there is a way we can take our water streams for items and modify them so that they move our villagers around pretty well. They'll also work in the case of monsters a lot of the time, and sometimes they will help us with mobs. So here's the issue that we have with our entities in our water streams. See, now our cow actually made it through, but since I'm standing here holding this wheat, they're going to fight the whole way down the water stream. And they'll come to the breaks in the water stream where we built in a way for our items to just skid across and get into the next water stream. And you'll see our cow has stopped right there. Now, if we move down here, our cow gets into the water stream just fine, but we can't always be standing there holding wheat to get our cows to move the way we want them to. So this was our suggestion from Dorsal Dawn, is you add a button over top of the end of the water stream, and you add a second water stream that continues to push things through. So now, even if we're holding the wheat, our cow will be moved. He'll have no choice. Well, he'll have that choice, but we should just cover these over as we go. There we go. We'll keep him from jumping. And you'll see our cow is moved along continuously. Now, you will see that I went with our pattern of using ice, and it does somewhat help, even though our entities can move against the current. So it's not 100% necessary to use ice for moving our items or well, it is necessary for our items, it is unnecessary for our entities, but it can help, especially if they're not paying attention and they're just being moved along. So now with that in mind, we use a secondary water stream and some buttons or extra buttons to overlap our flows and get our mobs where they need to go. You can cover these over entirely. I am demonstrating these in tutorial form with glass so we can see what's going on in a diagram type of form. But any solid blocks that block water will do. Oh, here's the rust for assistance. Just a moment. So these should be covered over, preventing our entities from jumping out of the top of these water streams. So, to demonstrate some cornering methods, you can place this secondary flow, or the overlapping flow, we'll call it, back so that it flows and then changes direction. Or, like we demonstrated before, you can have the shortest flows, and we could shorten this one by one further. I just did this for consistency in the world. You place the button and then place our secondary or overlapping flow right here, and the mob or entity will change direction just by entering that flow. Over here, we have a way to merge two flows into one. And you need only block the flow from both points that you do not want it to go, because we do not want this flow running counter to our stream over here. So our entities move into this, and they're all pushed along this way downriver. And finally, we have this setup where two streams meet at the end and continue in another direction. I will say right now, I should have moved one of these streams further, 1 block further away, and made this central stream 2 blocks wide. But this will do. The problem is that when you place or have entities moving down this stream and you block off the flows, they can tend to bump into each other, especially cows will do this. They'll bump here and be unable to move one at a time down the final stream. So all you need to do, like I said, move one of these streams back by one and make this 2 blocks wide. Once you have 2 source blocks here and the flow coming this way, it will work out so that you won't make a mess out of which way the water is going. All right, for elevation or de-elevation, we have the magma block, which gives us a bubble column that moves down. This way we can use this for any height, and our villager will be able to breathe, or our mobs will be able to breathe as they go. And they'll take a little bit of damage at the base, but there's no risk of them drowning while they're in the bubble column. And then they'll just be flowed off to one side, as usual, the same way we did with our items. If we're trying to move our villagers upward, and it must be villagers, cows, the biggest of the mobs, are not able to make the jump and move themselves up these water ladders, or a water elevator as it is. A villager will, because they will always attempt to rise in water so that they're not drowning. If you alternate water and empty air, they will be able to move all the way up a column as high as you want without risking any drowning. Small villagers will not, because they're too short. And we're going to have an issue here because of the tiny villager. But you'll see this guy moves up without any trouble. This does not work for zombies. They will not rise. And then with their head caught in the water, they will become drowned. So we need a different method for moving our zombies wherever they need to go. And I've placed the soul sand here, but we're unable to use its bubble column to move items, or excuse me, move our entities. It just does not work. There is no way we can flow entities over to a bubble column for the soul sand. You could block off the last one and hope that they get into the bubble column, and most of the time they will, but it's not 100% reliable. But you do what you want to do with your farms in your world. You can use a bubble column, and they will not be in danger of drowning. They might just be in danger of standing on the next block over for all eternity, because we do know how silly villagers can be sometimes, and you may need to do something like that with zombies. If you were going to use a zombie spawner and direct them through a flow, they will eventually all bump each other until they do get into the water. And with the with the water sources here in you see they're immediately sent upward. But that's a lot of noise, and you get the idea. We could replace the whole thing. Whoops. All right. So we'll get rid of all of that nonsense. Now we have a bubble column. And as I was saying, if you wanted to use a zombie spawner or somewhere that was covered and you knew would be spawning a great deal of zombies, they will just bump each other until they get into the stream. And the same with our items. We need to cover this so that they don't go launching off into space. We'll have a quick demonstration of that as well. But as you can see, the struggle with that is you might lose a zombie here or there. Zombies, that's not as big a deal. Villagers are much more valuable. There is one other way to flow our zombies or monsters. Skeletons and creepers work just as well, and sometimes spiders. We can set all of our water streams on top of scaffolding, which will actually allow monsters to spawn on the block beneath the scaffolding and still be moved by the water. And unfortunately, this doesn't work for long distances because we would still need a way to skip the block from the end of the flow. So 8 blocks is about the best you get, unless you're doing some sort of funnel maneuver like this. As you can see, if you've watched my general mob farm tutorial, you're probably familiar with this. These can be built with nothing but solid blocks so that you get all the spawning except endermen in the mob farm. Yes, you will even get witches occasionally, and they'll all be flowed to this central area and dropped with the water flows sitting on top of scaffolding so that the monsters can spawn and they'll be pushed along. And you even have the added benefit of them not fighting to stay on top of the blocks because you can take out a ring of blocks and they won't panic and try to escape their fate while the um, while the scaffolding is here. And you'll see I've used some buttons to hold back the water flow. You can build this larger. I just kept it kind of small for the sake of this video and demonstration. But these are really the best ways that we have of moving our entities around and getting them to where they need to go. Uh, like I was saying, zombies will be a specialized case. So would it be if you had a skeleton farm or a skeleton spawner and tried to make something out of that. A general mob farm works best with some of these flows with scaffolding because you build the whole thing uh, to specifications as you need. With water streams, the drawbacks are that while they are the cheapest we can build, they take up a lot of space and they can be pretty expensive. Less so because we don't need any ice and we use buttons instead of signs. Signs will hold back water, but they take 6 blocks of wood and a stick, while a button takes 1 stone or 1 black stone or 1 bit of wood. Uh, so you'll have a much easier time of making these and collecting the materials. You don't need to use glass. I do for demonstration purposes, but you can find a cheap building material that you like or works for your build. And your only problem then is that a water stream takes up 3 blocks wide by however long, and they take some planning once you consider the behavior of water. So I want to just say, once again, thank you very much to Dorsal Dawn for pointing this out almost immediately after I posted my previous video. Though that will be linked in the description. And also, these 2 videos and everything that is talked about on this world is going to be placed into a new playlist for all of the things that I've learned since starting this channel and all of you guys' feedback, which I super appreciate. Um, I would love your subscriptions if you're seeing my channel for the first time. I love your likes. I try to respond to all or most of my comments, unless there's something silly. Um, and look forward in the near future to a little device to be an anvil swapper. Viewer I believe it's pronounced Rahul. And I apologize if I got that wrong. Asked that I did an anvil swapper. I'd be happy to look up how one works and share it with all of you. That will be probably tomorrow. But I really needed to get this sound issue corrected, and hopefully this video goes out with a better setup. So, be blessed on your next quest, and I'm off to my next adventure, which is likely to be one of the classic Final Fantasy games pretty soon, because I've been feeling the need for an original adventure. So, we will see you all next time.